Jesus, I surrender all to Him. I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him, in His presence daily live.
The 30th of November, 1899, Volume 3, Sick Members and Healthy Members in the Mystical Body of Christ. My adorable Jesus continues to come, and this time I saw him in the act in which he was at the pillar. Untying himself, Jesus threw himself into my arms to be compassionated by me. I clasped him to myself and began to arrange his hair, all clotted with blood, and to dry his eyes and face. And I also kissed him and did several acts of reparation. When I reached the hands and removed the chain, to my greatest surprise, I saw that the head was that of our Lord, but the members belonged to many other people, especially religious. Oh, how many infected members, which cast more darkness than light! On the left side, there were those who caused greater sufferings to Jesus. One could see sick members, full of wormy and deep wounds, and others which were just barely attached to that body by a nerve. Oh, how that divine head suffered and swayed over those members. On the right side, then, one could see those which were the most good, that is, the healthy members, shining, covered with flowers and with celestial dew, perfumed with fragrant odours, and among these members one could see some which gave off an obscure perfume. This divine head over these members suffered very much. It is true that there were some shining members, which almost resembled the light of the head, and which cheered it and gave it greatest glory. But the number of the infected members was greater. Opening his most sweet mouth, Jesus told me, "My daughter, how many pains these members give me. This body you see is the mystical body of my church, of which I glory in being the head. But how much cruel torment these members cause in this body. It seems that they incite one another to see who can give me greater torment." Then he said other things about this body, which I cannot remember so well. Therefore I stop here. End of the reading. The 30th of November, 1902, Volume 4. Fear that her state might be a work of the devil. Jesus teaches her how to recognize when it is he and when the devil. As I was amid fears, doubts, agitations, that everything might be a work of the devil, on coming my adorable Jesus told me, "My daughter, I am sun, and I fill the world with light. As I go to a soul, another sun is reproduced in her, in such a way that, by dint of rays of light, they dart through each other continuously. Now between these two suns clouds are formed, which are mortifications, humiliations, adversities, sufferings, and other things. If they are true suns, they have so much power that by darting through each other continuously, they triumph over these clouds and convert them into light. If, though they are only apparent and false suns, the clouds which form between them have the strength to convert these suns into darkness, this is the surest sign to know whether it is I or the devil. And after a person has received this sign, he can lay down his life to confess the truth, which is light, not darkness." I have been ruminating within my mind on whether these signs are present in me, And I see myself so full of defects that I have no words to manifest my badness. However, I do not lose heart. On the contrary, I hope that the mercy of the Lord may want to have compassion on this poor creature. End of the reading. The 30th of November 1916, Volume 11, The Benefits of Repairing for Others. I was very afflicted because of the privation of my adorable Jesus, and I cried bitterly. And as I was doing the hours of the Passion, a thought tormented me, saying to me, "Look at what good your reparations for others have done to you. They have caused you to let Jesus escape you," and much more nonsense. But blessed Jesus, moved to compassion by my tears, pressed me to his heart and told me, "My daughter, you are my goad. My love is cornered by your violences. If you knew how much I suffer in seeing you suffer because of me. But it is justice that wants to pour itself out, and your very violences force me to hide. Things will rage more, therefore patience. Besides, know that the reparations done for others have done great good to you, because in repairing for others, you intended to do what I did, and I repaired for all and also for you. I asked forgiveness for all. I grieved for the offences of all, and I also asked forgiveness for you, and for you also I grieved. Therefore, as you do what I did, you also take the reparations, the forgiveness, and the sorrow I had for you. So what could do more good to you? My reparations, my forgiveness, my sorrow, or yours? And then I never let myself be surpassed in love. When I see that, for love of me, the soul is all intent on repairing me, loving me, apologising to me, and asking forgiveness for sinners, to give her tit for tat, I ask forgiveness for her in a special way. I repair and love for her, and I keep embellishing her soul with my love, with my reparations and forgiveness. Therefore continue to repair, and do not raise conflicts between you and me. End of the reading. The 30th of November 1929, Volume 27, Condition of Man Before Sinning. How in each of his acts he looked for God, he found his Creator, he gave and received. How the human will is night for the soul. I was beginning my round in the divine will according to my usual way, and wanting to reorder all created intelligences in order with God, from the first to the last man that will come to earth, I was saying, I place my I love you upon each thought of creature, so that in each thought I may ask for the dominion of the divine fiat over each intelligence. But while I was doing this, I thought to myself, how can I arrive at purling each thought of creature with my I love you? And my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, my daughter, with my will you can do anything and can reach anything. Now you must know that before sinning, in each thought he made, in each gaze, word, work, step, heartbeat, man gave his act to God, and God gave his continuous act to man. So his condition was of always giving to his Creator and of always receiving. There was such harmony between Creator and creature that on both sides they could not be without one giving and the other receiving, to then give again, be it even a thought, a gaze. Therefore each act of man looked for God, and God ran to fill his thought with grace, with sanctity, with light, with life, with the divine will. It can be said that the littlest act of man loved and recognised he who had given him life, and God loved him back by requiting him with his love and by making his divine life grow in each act of man, little and great. He was incapable of receiving the divine life all at once. He was just too narrow, and God gave it to him sip by sip. In each act he did for love of him, taking delight in giving him always to form his divine life in him. Therefore each thought and act of man poured into God, and God poured into him. This was the true order of creation, to find in man, in each of his acts, his Creator, so that he might be able to give him his light and what he had established to give him. Our divine will, present in us and in him, made itself the bearer of one and of the other, and forming the full day in him, it placed in common the goods of both. How happy was the condition of man when our divine fiat reigned in him. It can be said that he was growing on our paternal knees, attached to our breast, from which he drew growth and his formation. This is what I want, that in my divine volition each thought of creature have your I love you to call back the order between Creator and creature. In fact, you must know that by sinning, man not only rejected our fiat, but broke the love toward he who had loved him so much. He put himself at a distance from his Creator, and a faraway love cannot form life, because true love feels the need to be nourished by the love of the beloved, and to remain so close as to be impossible for them to separate. So the life of the love created by us in creating man remained without nourishment and almost dying. More so since every human act he did without our divine will was as many nights that he formed in his soul. If he thought, it was night that he formed. If he looked, spoke, and so forth, everything was darkness that formed a dark night. Without my fiat, there can be neither day nor sun. At the most, a few tiny little flames that can hardly guide his step. Oh, if they knew what it means to live without my divine will, even if they were not evil and did some good. The human will is always night for the soul that oppresses her, embitters her, and makes her feel the weight of life. Therefore be attentive, and let nothing escape you that does not enter into my divine fiat, that will make you feel the full day, that will give you back the order of creation. It will call back the harmony, that will place in force the continuous giving of your acts and the continuous receiving of your Creator. And embracing the whole human family, you will be able to impetrate that the order of the way in which they were created may come back, that the night of the human will may cease, and the full day of my divine will may arise. End of the reading. The 30th of November 1930, Volume 28. The reason why God is not known and loved, because they think that he is the God far away from creatures, while he is the inseparable one. How the divine will draws the soul, and she draws the divine fiat into herself. I was doing my round in the creation to follow the acts that the divine fiat does in the created things. And as I arrived at Eden, it seemed to me that my lovable Jesus was waiting for me to be able to communicate to me the love, the goodness, the sanctity, the power, and everything he did in creating man, pouring all of himself into him, to the point of filling him completely with himself and with his divine qualities, but so much to the point of overflowing outside, giving him the task, as the highest honour for man, to avail himself of his love, goodness, sanctity and power in order to carry out his life in the very goods of he who had created him. I felt as though soaked with the divine qualities, and my sweet Jesus told me, "My daughter, man was created to be inseparable from God, and if he is not known and loved, it is precisely because they think that God is the being far away from man, as if we had nothing to do, either he with us or God with him. To believe him far away causes God to be dispersed from man, and everything I had in creating him, our very divine qualities, remained weakened, suffocated, and for many as if they had no life, while our divinity is not far away, but close, even more inside of man, and in all his acts we are actors and spectators. Therefore our sorrow is great in seeing that the creatures consider us and believe that we are far away from them, and therefore they neither know us nor love us. To think of us as far away is the deadly iron that kills the love of the creature toward the Creator. Distance breaks any friendship. Who can ever think of loving, of knowing, and of hoping from a far-away being? No one. And we are forced to repeat, we are with them, inside of them, and it seems they do not know us. And while their love, their will, by not knowing us, are far away from us, they say that we are far away from them. And this is the reason for which some, who have read my intimacies with you, Louisa, have reached the point of doubting. It is precisely this, because they think that I am the far-away God, and being far away, so many intimacies between me and you could not have taken place. Now, my daughter, do you want to know who makes God be felt alive in the heart of the creature? My will, reigning in her. In fact, not giving life to the human will, my fiat makes her feel vividly its love, its power, its goodness and sanctity that run in all the acts of the creature. For her, there isn't the faraway God, but the God who is close and primary life of her life and of all her acts. Therefore, the living in my divine will maintains the vigour of all the goods that we gave to man in creating him, and makes of him the throne of God and his glory, where he dominates and reigns. After this, I continued to follow everything that, admirable and sublime, the divine fiat has done in creation, and I said to myself, I want to enter into the sun in order to find the divine will operating in its light, so as to give it all the beauty, the purity, the holiness, the power that a human will operating in its light can contain. I want to enter into the azure heavens in order to embrace it and give it my will operating in the vastness of the heavens, in the multiplicity of the stars, to give it the glory, the love of a heaven, and many profound acts of adoration for as many as are the stars. And so I followed all created things. But while I was doing this, a thought told me, created things do not have reason. They are veils that hide that fiat that with its divine reason, more than if they had reason, dominates them with its power, maintains the perfect balance, and adores, loves, glorifies itself by itself. But while I was thinking of this, my beloved Jesus, making himself seen, clasped me in his arms and all tenderness told me, "My little daughter of my divine volition, my will is one, and even though it has the bilocating virtue, it bilocates at each instant, in each thing, in each act, in such a way that all can have it as act and life of their own. However, it never loses its unity. It is always one, and with its one strength it maintains, wherever it reigns, the union, the harmony, the order, the communication, the inseparability, and holds everything enclosed within itself inside one single act. The act is one, my will is one, but it extends everywhere, leaving not even one atom of the things created without its operating and vivifying life. Ah yes, they are just veils that hide it. My will veils itself with light, and extending in the sun, it keeps moulding the creatures with its light. It embraces them, it kisses them, it warms them, it loves them. It extends in the heavens and makes itself all eyes for as many as other stars, in order to watch them, and their meek twinkling are silent voices, as if very softly it called the creatures to the celestial fatherland. It pours itself into the air, and filling it completely, it makes itself their breath, and blowing over them, it makes itself be breathed and gives them life. In all created things, it runs toward the creatures to give them many distinct effects, to offer them its love, the life, the preservation. Yet one is the act, one is the will that fills heaven and earth. Now, my daughter, one who does my will and lives in it, when she does her acts, draws into herself all the acts of my fiat that it has done and continues to do, and my will draws the creature and her act into its act. So, by virtue of its one will, it draws her into the heavens, into the sun, into the air, in everything. And do you know what happens then? No longer does one single divine reason and will fill heaven and earth, but another reason and will, human, that, dissolving within the reason and will, remains, one can say, as the veil of the created things, but a veil that has reason and will, though sacrificed and identified with the divine reason and will. And then it happens that my fiat is no longer alone in loving, honouring and glorifying itself in the created things, but there is another will, human, that loves it, adores it, glorifies it, as heavens, as sun, as air. In sum, it is present everywhere, and in each distinct thing in which my will reigns. So just as my divine will draws the human will into itself and into its acts to make itself be loved, adored and glorified with its own love, adoration and glory, in the same way, the creature who wants to live but of my will draws into herself all the acts done by it, and it makes itself be loved and sanctified as a divine will knows how to love and sanctify, that extends its heaven, forms its sun. In sum, it continues its divine art, just as it started it, and is continuing it in the creation. Do you see then what it means to do my divine will? And not doing it means to lose its heaven, its sun, its air, its seas of grace, its divine art. Therefore, always in it do I want to find the daughter of my divine will. End of the reading. The 30th of November, 1938, Volume 36. One who wanders in the divine volition goes around its works. She receives the endowment that God prepared for her and forms her days. she becomes a messenger of peace between heaven and earth, the bearer of divine generations. I was doing my round in the acts of the divine volition done for love of us, and it seemed to me that each act wanted to be recognised for all that it did, for how much it loved us and still loves us, since its love never ends. So I was thinking to myself, what good do I do by always returning the acts of the divine will? And my always adorable Jesus, surprising me, all goodness, told me, my blessed daughter, you must know that in all we have done in creation, as well as in redemption, we formed the dowry to provide the creature with our own goods and works. The soul who enters our will comes to take possession of her endowment, to recognise it and to love it. As she wanders in our will to get to know this most extensive dowry given to her by her Creator, she forms her day in time. She forms days for as many times as she wanders, walks, loves and knows. I gave her this great endowment that she can receive and know in time, for this reason, to let her form her days that will crown her eternal day of an eternity that never ends. The more she wanders in our will, the more days she forms, which will make her more rich and glorious in heaven. If the creature did not take the care of recognising, possessing, and loving this great endowment, she would be a poor, unhappy one, living in miseries and forced into starvation, though owning many goods. It would happen as to the father who gives to his son his very large properties, but the son doesn't bother to get to know them or to go there often enough to possess and enjoy the endowment he received from his father. With all these goods that he could possess, this son, not caring about them or recognising them, goes from rich to poor. One can say that he declined from the nobility of his father, as if he was no longer his legitimate son. What wouldn't the pain be for the poor father, who, though being so rich, has to see his son like a poor ragamuffin, begging others for bread? If he had the power, this son would make his own father die of pain. This is the state of our Supreme Being. All that we have created was supposed to be the endowment for the creature, to make her happy and rich, to let her know who we are, how much we have loved her, and how much we have done for her. Therefore, those who don't wander around in our works do not recognise them or possess them, and they cannot gain the merit of their days within time. Isn't this a great pain for us? So enter always into our works. The more you come, the more you will recognise them, love them, and possess them by right. Furthermore, each act done in my will is a messenger of peace that leaves the earth and goes into heaven. It comes to bring peace between heaven and earth. Every single word said in my will carries the bond of peace, and one who comes to live in it receives as the prime good the bond of peace between herself and us. She feels as if embalmed by our divine peace. With this bond of peace, she feels within herself the virtue of becoming the peacemaker between heaven and earth. Everything is peace within her. Peaceful are the words, peaceful the glances, peaceful the movements. Oh, how many times with one word she places peace between us and the creature. One single glance from her, sweet and peaceful, wounds us and makes us turn chastisements into graces. So her acts are nothing other than bonds of peace, the peaceful messengers that bring the kiss of peace of the creatures to God, and the kiss of God to the creatures. Furthermore, the more the creature lives in our will, the more she comes deeply into our divine family, acquiring our modes and receiving our secrets. She looks more like us. We love each other more, and she puts us in the condition of giving her always new graces, new love surprises. We keep her in our home as a member of our family. She eats at our table and sleeps on our knees. We just cannot live without her. Our will ties her so much to us, feeling her love and attention, that we cannot be without her, nor she without us. After this he added, "My daughter, our desire that the creatures live in our will is so great that we find ourselves in the condition of a poor mother who feels the need to give birth to her baby but cannot. She does not know where to place him, or from whom she can find care, or who can take him. Poor mother, how much she suffers. Our Supreme Being is in this state. We feel the need to generate ourselves, but where can we be placed? If our will is not the life of the creature, there is no place for us. We have no one to whom we can give ourselves, no one who can feed us, not even the court that is needed for our adorable Majesty. Since our most holy Trinity is always in the act of generating, these births remain repressed within ourselves. We want to generate our divine Trinity within creatures, but since they don't live in our will, there is no one to receive our divine generation. What a suffering, seeing ourselves being rejected back into ourselves, not being able to produce the great good that our eternal generation can form within the creatures. Our will embraces all, and as the soul forms her acts, she becomes the bearer of all. If she adores, she brings us the adoration of all. If she suffers, she encloses the reparation of all. One act in our will must surpass, enclose, and embrace everyone and everything, to the extent of becoming the bearer of our Supreme Being, since we never get out of our will. So one who lives in it can enclose us within each one of her acts to bring us wherever she wants, to the creatures to make ourselves known, to the whole creation to tell us how beautiful our works are, to ourselves to tell us, "See how much I love you. I even get to bring you yourselves." We find ourselves in the same condition as the sphere of the sun that never goes out of the circle of its rays. Even if the rays descend to the bottom of the earth, investing all, even the most tiny plant, the sphere never moves from its light, from the high place where it is, but it still walks together with its rays, doing whatever they do. Such are we, the bearer of our will, while our will is our own bearer. We are one single life, and whoever lives in it becomes the bearer of our divine being, while we become the bearers of the little human will. And we love it so much that it forms our victory and our most beautiful joy, to see our will being accomplished within it. End of the reading. There are no more readings today, and this is the final reading for this month. Have a blessed day.